The Forgotten Suitcase, 12:45 p.m. Newark Station, 2004. On the 14th of October, 2004, the morning commute through Newark Penn Station followed its usual rhythm. Thousands of commuters moved through the aging transit hub, transferring between the Northeast Corridor, the PATH trains to New York, and the local bus connections that served the greater Newark area. The station, a sprawling concrete structure that had not seen significant renovation since the 1970s, handled over 60,000 passengers daily. It was a place of transience, where strangers passed one another without acknowledgement, each absorbed in their own journey. The weather that Thursday morning was overcast, with a damp chill that suggested winter was approaching. At 11:47 a.m., a woman named Margaret Chen boarded a New Jersey transit train at Newark Penn Station, bound for her office in Manhattan. She was 43 years old, a financial analyst for a mid-sized insurance firm, and she carried with her a navy blue hardshell suitcase, wheels attached, the kind commonly used for overnight business trips. Margaret had made this journey countless times before. She was punctual, methodical, known among colleagues for her reliability. Her supervisor, David Herrera, would later tell investigators that Margaret had sent an email at 10:15 that morning confirming she would attend a 2 p.m. meeting with representatives from a reinsurance firm. Margaret Chen boarded the 11:52 train from Track 7. She was seen by a transit employee, a platform attendant named Ronald Peake, who remembered her because she smiled at him, a small courtesy that he said stayed with him later. She found a seat in the second car, near the window, and placed her suitcase on the overhead rack. The train departed at 11:58, 6 minutes behind schedule. She never arrived at Penn Station in New York. At 12:31 p.m., the train pulled into New York Penn Station. Passengers disembarked. The car where Margaret Chen had been sitting emptied, but the navy blue suitcase remained on the overhead rack, unclaimed. A cleaning crew member, Patrice Williams, discovered it during the 12:45 p.m. sweep of the cars. She noted the suitcase was heavy, and when she attempted to move it, she heard a shifting sound from inside, something sliding, settling. She did not open it. Protocol dictated she report it to the transit police. By 1:15 p.m., the suitcase had been isolated. By 2:00 p.m., it had been opened. What the authorities found inside would initiate an investigation that remains open to this day. Margaret Chen's body was discovered folded into the suitcase, compressed into a space that should have been impossible for an adult to occupy. The forensic pathologist would later determine she had been dead for approximately 4 to 6 hours at the time of discovery, suggesting she had died sometime between 7 and 9 that morning, before she ever boarded the train. The suitcase itself was a standard model, purchased from a luggage store in Edison, New Jersey, 9 days prior. Receipts found in the trash at the store confirmed the purchase had been made by someone using a credit card registered to an address in Elizabeth. But the credit card had been reported stolen 3 days earlier. The investigation began with the obvious question: where did Margaret Chen die, and how did she end up in that suitcase on that train? The answer proved elusive. Her apartment in Jersey City was examined. It showed no signs of struggle. Her car, parked in the lot where she left it each morning, was found locked, her briefcase still on the passenger seat. Her keys were in her pocket, a detail confirmed by the medical examiner. She had left her apartment nominally that morning, driven to the station, parked, and walked into Newark Penn Station. Closed-circuit footage from the parking facility showed her exiting her vehicle at 10:23 a.m., rolling a small-wheeled suitcase behind her. But the suitcase in the footage was not the navy blue case found on the train. It was a different one, green, smaller, a weekend bag she had used for years. Investigators would eventually determine that Margaret Chen had purchased the navy blue suitcase on October 12th, 2 days before her death. She had used it once, according to her credit card statements, to buy office supplies at a Target in the Mall near her apartment. The suitcase had been in her car since then, but on the morning of October 14th, the green bag was still in her apartment. The blue suitcase was in her car. How she came to be carrying the blue suitcase that morning remained unclear. The train itself provided few answers. 37 passengers had been in the second car. None reported seeing anything unusual. The car had been cleaned the night before at the Newark yard, and the cleaning supervisor confirmed no items had been left behind. This meant Margaret Chen or her killer had placed the suitcase on the train after the cleaning, but before the 11:47 boarding. The 11:47 train from Newark to New York was not the only possible route. There was also the 11:52, the one Margaret was known to take. Both trains originated from the same track area. Both could have carried the suitcase. Witnesses on the platform that morning were canvassed. A street vendor who sold coffee near the Track 7 entrance remembered a man roughly 6 feet tall, wearing a dark coat, carrying a navy blue suitcase. He said the man seemed nervous, looking over his shoulder several times. But the vendor could not provide a further description. He noted the time only because the man had asked for his change in coins, precise change for coffee, and had dropped $1 on the ground. The vendor remembered thinking it was odd that a man carrying a suitcase would not have a bag or coat check. Other witnesses came forward with fragmentary accounts. A commuter waiting for the 11:45 to Trenton said she saw a woman matching Margaret's description standing near the vending machines at 11:40, looking at her watch. A transit police officer on duty at the platform entrance recalled checking a man's identification around 11:35, but the man had no luggage. The officer could not recall the man's face. The investigation expanded. Margaret Chen's personal life was examined. She had been married once in 1997, but divorced in 2001. No children. Her ex-husband, a civil engineer named Thomas Chen, was interviewed and cleared. He had been at work in Philadelphia that day, with alibis confirmed by 5 colleagues. Her social circle was small. She had recently begun dating someone, a man she had met at a gym, who told investigators they had gone on 3 dates and had no serious involvement. His background check revealed nothing. Her workplace was examined. There were no indications of financial distress, no signs of conflict with colleagues. Her email account showed nothing unusual. The 10:15 message to her supervisor was the last communication. The forensic evidence proved frustrating. The suitcase bore no fingerprints, wiped clean, or perhaps handled with gloves. The interior lining had been replaced, according to the manufacturer, with a custom insert that made compression easier. The insert bore no identifying marks. Fibers found on Margaret's clothing did not match anything in her apartment or vehicle. The method of death was determined to be strangulation, but there were no defensive wounds on her hands or arms. She had not struggled. The case generated significant attention in the local media, but faded within months. The investigation was never officially closed, but resources were redirected. Detectives assigned to the case were reassigned. The file was shelved. In 2009, the case was briefly reopened when a woman named Sandra Pelletier was arrested in connection with an unrelated assault in Newark. During questioning, she made an offhand comment to her attorney about a suitcase she had seen discarded near the Delaware River in 2004. The tip was investigated and found to be a dead end. Pelletier had no connection to Margaret Chen. In 2015, advances in DNA technology allowed detectives to re-examine fibers from Margaret's clothing. A single fiber was identified as consistent with a type of industrial carpeting used in some rental vehicles. This led to a search of rental car records from the week of October 14, 2004. A white cargo van had been rented from a location in Elizabeth, under a name that proved to be fictitious. The van was returned on October 15th with a small amount of soil in the back that was not tested at the time. That soil was tested in 2016. It contained traces of a plant species not native to New Jersey, a type of moss found only in the Appalachian Mountains. The rental company had no record of the van's previous locations. The investigation hit another wall. Margaret Chen's family still lives in the area. They have not spoken publicly in years. Her mother, in a brief statement through a family friend in 2010, said only, We just want to know what happened to our daughter. The question remains unanswered. In the files of the New Jersey Transit Police, the case of Margaret Chen is listed as unresolved. The suitcase, a navy blue hardshell case, now stored in an evidence warehouse, remains sealed in a plastic bag. Every few years, a detective will pull the file, review it, and find nothing new. What happened to Margaret Chen between 9 a.m., when she was last seen alive by her neighbor in the parking lot, and 11:47, when she boarded a train she never exited? Who was the man with the nervous demeanor, the one the street vendor remembered? Was the suitcase placed on the train by the killer, or did someone else carry it unknowingly? And why, of all the places in the region to leave a body, was it left on a commuter train, in the middle of the day, in a car that would be emptied by hundreds of strangers? The last train of the day still passes through Newark Penn Station at 12:45 p.m., the same platform, the same track. Passengers get on and off. No one notices the empty space where a suitcase once sat. But some questions do not leave. They wait, like passengers on a platform, for a train that may